Hello again. This is the second video of Business Ethics module. I am Murat Canbulut from Altınbaş University. So, in the first video of this module, we made a brief introduction to the class. So, in this video, I will be talking about history of ethics. So, when we have a quick look at history of ethics, we will be having definitions of ethics. I'd like to remind you that you will be able to find many definitions of ethics online. So since you have a basic knowledge of computers, computer skills, then you will be able to search definitions of ethics easily after you completed that course. So then, after we made the definitions of ethics, we are going to understand, we are going to have a look at the relationship between ethics and morality. Then we will be concluding the class with two important persons' ideas on ethics with a perspective of utilitarianism. The first person is Jeremy Bentham and the second person is John Stuart Mill. So having these two people's opinions on ethics with a utilitarianism perspective, then we are going to conclude this video. So let's first make the definition of ethics. So ethics is a Greek word. The history of ethics goes back to Greek times, ancient Roman times. So the Greek word ethos is the center of ethics word. So what's the meaning of ethics in the ancient Greeks? So it has the meaning of custom, habit, character, or disposition. So I've just taken this definition from BBC, as you can see on the slides. So I have another definition of ethics here. So after we went back to the ancient Greeks, so let's make the definitions more clear. So what's the simple definition of ethics? It's about the rules of behavior based on ideas about what is morally good and bad. So I'd like to take your attention to some words in the slides you are going to see, which I underlined. So in order to take your attention, so please pay attention to the words which is underlined. So in this definition, good and bad are keywords for us. So let's make another definition of ethics. So it is an area of study that deals with ideas about what is good and bad behavior. So we already saw good and bad are two vital keywords while making the definition of ethics. So good and bad behavior, a branch of philosophy dealing with what is morally right and wrong. I'd like to add right and wrong to the keywords I already mentioned, good and bad. Okay, we have four important keywords here while we are thinking about ethics, while we are making the definition of ethics. Good, bad, right, and wrong. Okay, so we can also define ethics as a system of moral principles, morality. Okay, they affect how people make decisions and lead their lives. So to summarize ethics definition, so good, bad, right, wrong, and morality are important keywords, important concepts for us to understand, to have a better understanding of ethics. So what about the relationship between ethics and morality? So morality, let's define morality first. It's the standards that an individual or a group has about what is right and wrong, good or evil. So it's about the standards defined by someone. So these standards are about the things are right or wrong, good or evil. Okay. So what is moral standards? How can we define it? Moral standards are norms about the kinds of actions that are morally right and wrong, as well as the values placed on what is morally good or bad. In this definition, that you can see that we are dealing with the values. Okay, if we are talking about moral standards, that we need to consider the values. Okay, so in contrary to moral standards, we also have non-moral standards. Let's define it. Non-moral standards are the standards by which we judge what is good or bad and right or wrong in a non-moral way. The things are non-moral things. Okay, we judge, and while we are judging something, that we have a perspective of non-morality. Okay, so let's talk about uh, two important guys, two important people's opinions on ethics with a utilitarianism perspective. So for Jeremy Bentham, when we are talking about ethics, that if you have a utilitarianism perspective, that Bentham says that human nature have two sovereign masters. Okay, the first one is pleasure and the other one is pain. These two forces, these two masters govern us in all we do, in all we say, in all we think. Okay, so they are controlling us, pleasure and pain. Actions are approved when they are such as to promote happiness or pleasure. Okay, so please pay attention to the words that I underlined for you. And this approved or when they have a tendency to cause unhappiness or pain. So pleasure and pain control and govern us in all we do, in all we say, in all we think. Okay, so what are the main principles of utilitarianism according to Jeremy Bentham? So the first item is maximizing happiness, because actions are approved when they are such as to promote happiness. Okay, so we need to consider the overall balance of pleasure over pain. Okay, so you need to consider pleasure should be better and bigger and over the pain. Second item is the greatest happiness for the greatest number. So these item, these principle, many times lead to main discussions in our lives. So the greatest happiness for the greatest number. So we need to consider that leading that we need to consider actions leading happiness for the greatest number. If the action is leading greatest happiness for the greatest number, so it's okay. Okay. So the third item is utility is whatever produces happiness and pleasure and whatever prevents pain and suffering. So our aim is producing happiness and pleasure to prevent pain and suffering, because pleasure brings happiness and it's what we are trying to reach. Okay, so the second idea, the second opinion about utilitarianism shared by John Stuart Mill. So John Stuart Mill uh, shares his idea with harm principle. So I think it's going to be very familiar to you after we made the definition and explained. So what does harm principle claim? People should be free to do whatever they want, provided they do no harm to others. Okay, so you are free to do whatever you want, but if you are giving harm or if you are giving pain, if you are leading unhappiness to someone, then you are not allowed to do this. Okay, so there is a border, there is an harm border. Let's think about it. There is a harm border. If you pass that border, then you are not free to do whatever you want. The only action for which a person is accountable to society in Mill's arguments are those that affect others. As long as I am not harming anyone else, my independence is of right absolute over himself, over his own body and mind. The individual is free, have the power. Okay, So there is a border. Let's repeat ourselves again. There is a border that you are not allowed to pass that border, leading to unhappiness, harming others. Okay, so we need to respect individual rights and freedom of each and every person in order to pursue a good and just life. So, as an individual, our aim is to have a good and just life. So, while doing this, we need to consider short run and long run utilities. Okay, in a utilitarian perspective, we need to consider, of course, leading to good and just life, but we also need to consider short run and long run utilities. So this is almost the end of first video. So in the next video, in the third video, we will be talking about the relationship between ethics and business. So we went back to the ancient Greeks. We just thought about the history of ethics. We just realized the main discussions on ethics and we made the definitions of ethics. And now it's time to see the relationship between ethics and business. So then, of course, we are going to define business ethics and we will be having a discussion on two arguments on business ethics. So this is the end of video 2. Thanks for participation.